Hey everyone, and welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we are breaking down the absolute thrill ride that was the July 2nd's Practice Cup. Now, at first glance, this might just look like any other regular day at the lanes, right? But as we dive into the data today, you'll see how a pretty standard event quickly evolved into a total masterclass of head-to-head pressure. We're going to unpack exactly how this unforgettable day unfolded. Let's jump straight to this quote from the official tournament recap. They stated that this competition produced one of its most memorable finishes today. And let me tell you, that sets a very high bar. When the official recaps start using language like that, you know you're looking at something incredibly special. So let's set the stage for this unforgettable day and analyze the numbers that created such an electric atmosphere. All right, let's get right into it with our first section, a dramatic bowling finish. What we're really looking at here is a classic sports duel between two incredible competitors who were just pushing each other to the absolute limit. We're going to walk through this day exactly as it happened, focusing on the sheer tension that was building frame by agonizing frame. It's actually fascinating how a seemingly standard tournament format can just suddenly transform into a historic day of head-to-head suspense. It wasn't just about knocking down pins anymore. It became a full-on psychological battle. And the scorecards? Well, they tell that story perfectly. That brings us to the true catalyst of the day. Let's look at Carol's incredible run. Now, context is absolutely crucial here. To really grasp the drama of this tournament, you first have to understand the sheer force of Carol's performance. She wasn't just a top competitor. She was the only female competitor in the entire field that day. And honestly, she absolutely dominated the narrative. Right out of the gate, from the very first frame, she brought this phenomenal energy and delivered an exceptional performance showcasing some seriously deep resilience. She didn't just play well, she commanded the attention of the entire venue. Her scores map out this brilliant, wild roller coaster on the lanes. Look at this. She opens with a massive 253. I mean, that is an incredibly hot start. But then, the momentum shifts, and she has to really fight through a grueling 180 battle in the second game. A lesser competitor definitely might have folded right there, but instead, she bounces back with a spectacular, totally clutch 259 finish. Being able to mentally reset like that is just phenomenal to analyze. So what does that all add up to? A massive 692 total series. 253 plus 180 plus 259. Hitting a 692 series is a towering achievement, and it put her right at the very top of the leaderboard when the dust finally settled on regular play. But every hero needs a challenger, right? Let's check out how Paul A matches the pace. Like I said, every great explainer needs a compelling rival, and man, here it was, the fiercely consistent Paul A. While Carol was out there putting up fireworks, Paul was utilizing this creeping, steady consistency. He starts off with a really strong 209, escalates that to a solid 245 in the second game, and then totally holds his nerve with a 238 in the third. You'll notice there are no major dips here at all. It's just relentless, high-level execution frame after frame. It's just this incredible contrast in styles. On one hand, you've got Carol's explosive peaks and valleys, those dramatic highs sandwiching that tough second game. And on the other hand, you have Paul A's steady, relentless upward march. It's literally two completely different pathways to success, battling against each other in real time. And mathematically, against literally all odds, after all those frames, Paul matched her exactly, a 692. I mean, think about how many pins are knocked down over 3 games, how many tiny variables are at play in bowling, and yet the explosive roller coaster and the steady climb arrived at the exact same destination, 692 to 692. Unbelievable. This wasn't just a close game anymore. It was a total statistical rarity. A dead tie for the qualifying lead literally stops everyone in their tracks as the realization sets in. Out of all the possible score combinations in 3 games of bowling, these two phenomenal athletes were deadlocked. The standard tournament was officially over, guys. We were in uncharted territory. Which pushes us right to the edge of our seats. Section 3, the sudden death playoff. Can you even imagine the tension in that alley? It had to be absolutely palpable as the tournament shifted into sudden death mode. That previous 692 series didn't matter anymore. Toss it out. With the championship hanging entirely in the balance, a 1-game roll-off was needed to decide the winner. And it begs the ultimate question, who could hold their nerve under that kind of pressure? When you are physically exhausted after a 3-game series and the entire venue goes dead silent watching your every move, how do you focus enough to bowl one final perfect game? Well, the results came in. Paul A manages to pull through with a rock-solid 196, while Carroll finishes up with a very respectable 185. In a high-stakes, single-game scenario like this, Paul A just managed to tap right back into that steady consistency we talked about earlier, securing exactly the numbers he needed to edge out the win. So yes, Paul A officially claims the playoff victory and the championship. But let's be real for a second. The official recap makes a very specific point to highlight Carroll here. Her sheer grit, that spectacular third-game comeback, and her pure determination made her the undeniable co-star of the entire event. She came so close to walking away with the championship in what was a highly, highly competitive field.
All right, let's zoom out a bit and wrap things up by looking at the final standings. While our two heroes were busy battling it out at the top in their sudden death duel, we've got to acknowledge the seriously fierce competition happening right behind them. Daryl actually led the remaining field with a super impressive 655 series. Honestly, in a lot of other tournaments, that's a winning score right there. He was followed closely by Wes with a 620, Bruce at 611, Herbert finishing strong with a 594, and Greg rounding out the standings with a 587. It was an incredibly competitive day from top to bottom, which just underscores how truly extraordinary that 692 tie at the top really was.
You know, this final summary really hits the nail on the head. It perfectly captures the vibe of the Practice Cup. It highlights exactly why these local matchups are so incredibly gripping. It's not just about crunching the numbers. It's about the excellent bowling, friendly rivalries, and a finish that kept everyone watching until the very last frame. And honestly, that right there is the absolute essence of competitive sports. So, as we wrap up this explainer, I'm going to leave you with this one thought. We've dug into the data, we've mapped out the explosive highs and the steady climbs, and we watched a complete statistical rarity unfold into a sudden death duel. When the pressure peaks, the crowd goes completely silent, and the championship is all on the line. Do you have the focus to bowl that perfect sudden death game? Thanks so much for joining me on this deep dive today, and hey, keep seeking out those incredible stories hiding right there inside the numbers. Catch you next time.